I sometimes had to, let's say, take on responsibilities that were bigger than me. I did it out of necessity. If they choose to follow my path, as I always tell everyone, this company is my love, but that doesn't mean it will be the love of my children.
Welcome, I'm Matteo Donelli. I'm a journalist and I lived abroad for many years. And this is Stories of Italian Taste, the video podcast produced by Pindarica Communication, telling the stories of the people, families, and businesses that have shaped the Italian food and wine heritage. Because behind every flavor, there's always a story worth hearing. Today we are in Parma, the city of music and gastronomy, to meet Massimo and Anna Rizzoli, who are carrying on a truly centuries-old legacy. Massimo is at the helm of Rizzoli Emanuelli, a company that since 1906 has been synonymous with anchovies, seafood preserves, and outstanding fish products. With him is his daughter Anna, who represents the new generation coming in. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Matteo. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
So one of the features of this video podcast is that we film it where the food is actually produced. Right behind us, we have these beautiful barrels. Can you tell us about these marsala barrels?
Yes, these are indeed marsala barrels. Marsala is actually just one of the many ingredients in our spicy sauce, which comes from our secret family recipe. These barrels have always come directly from Sicily, the traditional region for marsala production. In addition to using marsala as an ingredient, we also use the barrels during the aging process of the sauce because they are made of oak, so they impart a unique flavor to the sauce that definitely changes its taste.
So let's kick things off. What kind of flavor do you think your story will have? Will it be sweet, salty, bitter, or maybe spicy? We, as users, as people who consume your products, would say spicy.
The flavor that comes from our story fundamentally is the secret of the recipe. The spicy sauce is a recipe that has been passed down orally in our family from father to son, and it truly is a secret, a family secret.
A family secret. And how was it passed down to you? Was there a particular occasion you remember when this secret recipe, dating back to 1906, was handed down to you?
Yes, let's say it's definitely an unforgettable memory, because it was such a powerful emotion. I remember that I was already working in the company. I was about 30 years old, and one Sunday morning my father said to me in the kitchen, "Today I have to give you a recipe." He said, "Today I have to give you a recipe." I thought it was a recipe for Sunday lunch, which is still a must in our family, everyone sitting around the table together. So that's what I was expecting. But actually, my father started telling me about the various ingredients of the sauce, and I suddenly realized that the time had come for me to finally hold this important family secret.
Because this sauce, this secret, is truly the DNA of your company. It's really important. Today, for example, how many people know this important secret that needs to be guarded?
Today, let's say the complete recipe is known only by me and my son. And then we have a highly trusted production manager, someone we rely on completely, who helps with the various important stages of preparation.
So Anna, let's talk a bit about your entry into the company. You represent the fifth generation. What was it like coming into the business?
Well, it was definitely very challenging in the sense that you feel a weight, a great responsibility, and above all, the history that defines us is very important. So being able to live up to that history is demanding. It's a huge responsibility.
So this is a story where salt and fish take center stage. But what did salt actually mean back in those days?
This is an aspect of our history that few people know about because it all started with salt smuggling. We're talking about the mid-1800s when my great-great-grandfather, together with his brother, both originally from Parma, decided to move to Turin. Why Turin? Because there were lots of anchovies. Exactly. There was the salt route. A lot of anchovies would arrive, which the smugglers decided to hide under the salt, and then the salt was used for smuggling. It was a very important commodity because it was used to preserve food at a time in history when refrigerators didn't exist yet.
And then later, you moved to Parma. Because we know that the city of Parma and its whole area are especially rich in what?
Yes, so we're around the year 1900 when my great-great-grandfather, together with his brother, decided to return to Parma because it was thriving in terms of canning, especially tomato preserves. So it was very advanced industrially and had particularly advanced techniques. At the same time, a very important railway network had been built, which gave rise to new communication systems. That's what led to the strategic decision to return to Parma, where these two brothers, Luigi, who focused mainly on production, while Emilio Sefirino Rizzoli decided to dedicate himself to sales. And it was here that he met Antonietta Emanuelli. And beyond starting an incredible love story, they also decided to found Rizzoli Emanuelli.
So Rizzoli Emanuelli in Parma, where there's no sea, but there is an incredible organizational structure.
Yes, and this is where, let's say, our story begins.
And the story has always been tied to its logo, these three gnomes. What do they mean?
Well, to be honest, we don't know exactly. I mean, the logo, it's a legacy we found ourselves with and decided to preserve. It's said that Antonietta, together with her husband, received a shipment of fish from Northern Europe, and it was wrapped in this paper depicting these gnomes.
As a gift it had been sent.
Exactly, and it's believed they bring good luck, so we guard our gnomes jealously because we believe they are...
A good omen?
A good omen, yes, and they have been.
In our video podcast, Massimo, we also talk about flavors, as we said before. Certainly, in every incredible story, there can also be some parts that are perhaps a bit more challenging. What is the bitter part of this story that you remember?
Well, the bitter part of this story basically was, let's say, the moment when I found myself next to my father. And at that time, the company was much smaller than it is today. So my father he was everything. He was the best salesman we had, the best manager we had. Let's say the bitter moment was when my father, after I insisted, because I wanted to grow, to develop the company, since I've always, let's say, loved this company almost obsessively, we made the decision to build a new plant. The new plant, which is the one we currently have, though of course it has since been expanded, upgraded and modernized. Well, during the time when this plant was under full construction, it was truly a major step for us, financially and in terms of commitment. The time, let's say, a strong leadership was absolutely necessary, and the only leader was him. Then, overnight, my father fell ill. He became seriously ill with a very serious illness, and so he had to leave the company. I suddenly found myself with a plant that was only 60 or 70% completed. And I was definitely scared, aware that I wasn't up to the task. I didn't feel, well, I was about 22 years old, so I didn't feel up to the situation. I remember going to the hospital to see my father, and I asked him, "Dad, what do we do?" And he looked at me and said, he often used nautical terms, and he told me, "Full speed ahead."
And that's how it went. But you set off, you were really in stormy seas with negative balance sheets in the first years. How did you solve it?
I solved it with an incredible amount of commitment, in the sense that for me, as someone who was little more than a country boy, just going to Milan was already an adventure. So I didn't know where the clients were. Back then, there were no GPS devices, so we had a street directory, which was what you used to plan your day a bit. So in the evenings, I would prepare all my visits to know where the clients were. Then the next day, I'd set off in my car, go to Milan, and I started contacting the various clients. And in any case, it was a really, really challenging experience, but at the same time, a wonderful one. Because what I realized as I went along were two things. First, that my father had definitely laid a very good foundation, so my inexperience and my lack of ability were somehow tolerated by the clients. And they also tried to make me feel less unsuited to the role I was taking on. And then the other thing was absolutely a great satisfaction, because we ended up achieving the same numbers as we had in previous years. So it was really a great satisfaction.
So a fantastic result. We'll talk about it in more detail later. You mentioned the clients and the brilliant part, which was also a great strategic move, that was taking control of the entire vertical supply chain. In other words, you need to know what is being caught, and you and your organization actually went and established control over the fishing itself.
Yes, let's say that the experience. Well, my father was definitely a very intelligent man, so he gave me plenty of room to grow and to have my own experiences. So I had spent periods of my life in Spain, in Sicily, and I had realized, or at least I thought I had realized, that the fundamental thing was to have control over the entire supply chain, starting from the fishing boat and going all the way to the supermarket shelf, or in any case, to the customers, including wholesalers. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, that's always been one of my core beliefs. And over the years, I've always, let's say, tried to guide the company toward having full control over the entire value chain. So starting precisely from the fishing boat to the supermarket shelf, all the processing stages are managed directly by us.
And then this way, you were able to oversee things with your own people because you have facilities in Albania, in Croatia. In short, you have quite well-established operations throughout the Mediterranean area. But then you had to go and fight in the large-scale retail sector, which was a whole different battle.
Yes, let's say that clearly the advantage of starting out with a small company like I did is that as with all small companies, the roles, or even the same role you perform, is actually quite varied. So you often go from being the purchasing manager to being the sales manager and maybe even the production manager. So these are all stages that I gradually went through myself. And now that clearly the company has grown a lot, today we have a purchasing department, we have sales departments with particularly capable people, and I am able to manage them and communicate with them very well because these are all stages I have experienced and know well. This allows me to understand the difficulties my team faces out in the field, for example, when negotiating with large retailers, because these are challenges I have personally experienced. Likewise, I have good skills in organizing purchasing, and today we have an excellent purchasing organization that operates along all the coasts of the Mediterranean, but it's an organization that, having built it myself, I know very well.
Massimo, you built a widespread and complex organization. Your father told you to stay the course, and sticking to that path has allowed the company to always focus on quality. And after all these years, you know the market well. So, what does the market say today? The market has sometimes taken shortcuts, but you have never accepted taking any shortcuts. And even when faced with pseudo-frozen products or other alternatives, Rizzoli has decided to keep, let's say, its promise to the consumer of the highest quality.
Yes, let's say that I am very attached to tradition and to the company's success factors. And I think that one of the success factors, perhaps the main one that reigns above all, is high quality. In fact, in our brand, we even have an old saying, ante lucrum nomen, which means before profit, the name. And I still apply this philosophy today, meaning that my purchasing team knows that for us, quality is fundamental. It's not just about cost effectiveness. Of course, we are a company. So we are investing and we are structuring ourselves with very important growth plans, especially in the last 10 years. We have grown tremendously, and so we have invested a lot because the company has been able to do so. But we have never abandoned our fundamentals, which are precisely raw materials of the highest quality. We have never abandoned our traditional production processes, meaning that we only work with fresh fish salted from fresh. So it is simply not possible for frozen raw materials to enter our facilities. I'm talking especially about anchovies, or for us to use processing methods that are not done according to the good processing practices.
As we were saying, there is truly an important relationship of respect toward the consumer, but there is also a need to establish this relationship to provide total transparency, as for example with your products in glass jars.
Yes, let's say that glass is one of our, our ancient products, in quotes, where we first started to bring transparency to what we were doing. So from cans, we moved to the very first jars, glass jars both for anchovy fillets and later for tuna. And today we have, gradually developed what I call the field of flexible packaging, where we now work with sustainable, recyclable materials. And the great thing is, of course, they're transparent, truly and completely transparent in every sense, in every possible way. So we're transparent precisely because we continue, let's say, to push the idea of showing what we produce directly on the shelf so that the consumer knows what they are buying.
Anna, let's move on to the sweet moments. Perhaps the sweetest moment is right now. Can you tell us about it?
Of course. Yes. So right now I'm expecting a baby girl, and obviously when I had to break the news to my dad, I was a bit apprehensive because I was finishing up my university studies, and soon after I would have been able to contribute to the family business. And I have to say, he was an exceptional dad because he told me, your place in the company is there, and whenever you want, your spot will be waiting for you. So I think that was exactly the reassurance I needed at that moment. And it was really wonderful. I truly felt lucky.
Anna, you mentioned you had a special relationship with your dad. A dad who, surely because of work, wasn't always able to be there. So what was that like?
It was a very complicated relationship, a love-hate one, you could say, because my dad has a very demanding job. And when I was little, he was hardly ever around. At first, it's hard to understand that and why things are that way. You're a child, you don't understand the dynamics. For example, the day of my graduation, he told me, I have to get on a plane to Spain. There's an emergency. In that moment, of course, as a daughter, it's hard to understand certain things. But as you grow up, you start to get it. You understand the reasons behind certain choices. And as he always says, you realize that it's not just us as a family. When you have a company, there are many families behind it that you have to support and ensure a future for. And so over time, that anger and lack of understanding turned into immense pride for what he does.
And you, Anna, being part of the fifth generation, do you already feel that weight, that significance, that pride in being part of?
Well, he always gave me a lot of freedom, I have to say, to pursue my studies. He has always been extremely supportive when it comes to my education, and that's an enormous stroke of luck I've had, yet another one. Of course, the sense of responsibility for something so beautiful, even just waiting for me, being able to make my own contribution, to play my small part in its history, is definitely something I feel as a sense of responsibility.
And the relationship with your brother, who is also in the company, plays another role. What is it?
It's one of enormous respect, definitely. So Francesco joined the company, he came on board, and I have to say Dad could be pretty strict with him at times. He really made him start from the bottom and work his way up.
But not with you.
Not with me. Well, we took two different paths after all.
Well, Massimo, why is that?
Well, maybe I, in quotes, ended up with some heavy responsibilities kind of by chance, meaning I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. I sometimes had to, let's say, take on responsibilities that were bigger than me. And that's something I don't want anyone to have to do, especially not my children. So what I wanted, let's say, for Francesco's path, my son's path, was a path, well, how do you say that? Starting from the very bottom, in the sense that Francesco started out unloading trucks, fishing boats when we had the boats docked at the pier. He really worked his way up from the ground. Well, it wasn't easy because for a son to accept certain roles, I can truly understand that sometimes it's not simple, but to have a real understanding of our work, it's necessary to know it properly.
Which is what you did, because that's how you started.
Yes, I did it out of necessity. If they choose to follow my path, as I always tell everyone, this company is my love, but that doesn't mean it will be the love of my children.
And this love, Anna, has it already been passed on? Is your path already decided?
Let's say I really hope so. For me, the idea of working alongside him, well, yes, my dad, and alongside my brother too, is a huge motivation to keep going and to keep doing better. It was also the reason why I decided to continue my studies after university, to do a master's and to go back for a specialized degree. It was also partly the result of wanting to prepare myself as best as possible so I could give a contribution, my contribution, in the best way I can.
Because Massimo, you also have to know how to read financial statements, right?
Well, running a business definitely has fundamentals, and the fundamentals, whatever the size of the business, unfortunately or fortunately, you have to know how to read a financial statement.
Massimo, you created an empire of internationalization. Back when the word internationalization wasn't, let's say, on everyone's lips and wasn't so trendy. But this internationalization, it is based on human relationships.
Yes, it's based on human relationships because, after all, at the core, I really believe in human relationships.
Before, you said something off mic that really made me think the village belongs to the villager. What does that mean?
Well, let's say that my entrepreneurial beginnings in the fish business were actually on a truly wonderful island, Sicily. And so there's a well-known Sicilian saying, the village belongs to the villager. I really took that saying to heart. I made it my own. And I've always kept it in mind throughout all the changes and all the operations we've carried out, especially in foreign markets. So one of my main principles is that locally or wherever we develop, I tend to identify a person, let's say a partner, with certain qualities. Because, you know, as the saying goes, the village belongs to the villager. If everything goes smoothly, you don't need much. But when things go wrong, you really need strong, capable people on the ground. Also, because we operate in challenging environments in countries that are not easy. For example, one of our centers of excellence, which is also the largest facility we have, Bluefish, is a company based in Albania. Today, it has about 280 employees and is truly a center of excellence in the processing of bluefish. We built it together with my business partner, and we are carrying it forward in a way that is very satisfying for both of us. Other operations we have carried out, for example, in African markets, another company we own is Jamel Fish, a company in Tunisia, and there too we have a Tunisian partner. I have always wanted to surround myself with people who are very familiar with the local social dynamics. Running a business operation, managing a plant in Albania is not the same as managing a plant in Italy, nor is it the same as managing a plant in Tunisia or in Spain. You know, people are different, cultures are different, and you have to immerse yourself in those dynamics. If you don't have this ability to adapt, which you can also develop by living side by side, for example, with a partner who can help guide you and speed up your learning, well, you risk making significant mistakes.
Anna, as we were saying, it's an important family, but it's truly an international family. You have colleagues from all over the world.
Yes, it was really wonderful to discover this reality and also to discover the network of relationships my father has built over time. It was very fascinating, for example, when we went together on a trip to Spain, where I discovered how our products are produced, and there we had, I had the honor of meeting Salvatore, who is our salter, and he was very...
Chief Salter,
yes, exactly, Chief Salter, and he is...
a key figure in the field.
Yes, he really is an extremely important figure. And I also saw firsthand the relationship he has built with these people. I've seen it myself across several of our production sites. And it really is something special because Salvatore has been with us for 2 generations. His father used to work with my grandfather. Then he worked with my dad. So what we've built here truly feels like a family.
You have created a family. You all have created a family with a history of more than 100 years. But looking at the numbers are truly significant. They are numbers that are constantly growing. Can you briefly tell us about your revenues, where you're active, and how your organization is structured?
Well, let's say that this year the company, with satisfaction, I believe, from all the areas that contributed to this result, has surpassed 50 million euros in revenue, which for us was a great achievement. I repeat, because in any case, we We keep our feet firmly on the ground, so we are still a small company. We have operational bases in Croatia, and as I mentioned earlier, the largest unit we have is in Albania, in Elbasan, Albania. We have another truly wonderful operation in Tunisia, where we are able to monitor all the catch from the Strait of Sicily that is unloaded, is unloaded at the port of Kilibya. And there we have Jamel Fish, which is our company for salting, filleting, and now also for jar and can packaging. So we've expanded the production lines a bit. And then we're present in Santonia, which is specifically on the Cantabrian Sea, where we salt the raw material from Cantabrian anchovies, which are indeed of very, very high quality. And at the moment, we are in fact, developing another operation in southern Morocco. We are also present in South America, in Ecuador, where years ago we made an investment for tuna production. Then it started as a joint venture at first, which over time we refined in a different way. And so we always come back to the origins. That is the origin of my project, of our project, is the control of the value chain. So from fishing vessel to the distribution shelf, that's the real secret.
Well, that's a really interesting secret. Anna, you've got to know the production process as well. You mentioned the word scapatura. What does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. So when I was in Spain, there's this story. My dad took me to the factory. I walked in and there was nothing there but some steel tables, barrels, and salt. And I was like, wait, are the machines missing? And he explained to me and said, no, everything is here. What I mean is that everything is done by hand. And to me, that's something incredibly valuable today. I think it's important that people know about it. It's a story that deserves to be told. We saw the whole process thanks to Salvatore, who guided me through it. And I even saw the scapatura. The scapatura consists of, well, if I make a mistake, maybe my father here will add some technical notes, but it actually consists of carefully removing the fish's head with a specific, very technical twisting motion. And it's very important to leave part of the innards inside the fish. This is to ensure proper aging over time. So it really is an art in every respect, in my opinion, an incredible art that truly deserves to be practiced and shared.
Another thing we'd like to hear from you, Anna, is about the time you spent with your father in Spain, basically setting the price for an order, or as we joked, going shopping. How was your fish shopping experience?
It was amazing because I discovered this reverse auction. I was convinced out of ignorance that auctions only worked as ascending auctions, but in the case of the fish auction, it's actually a descending auction. So there are these big tables where everyone sits down and the negotiation begins for the lots of fish that arrive. So yeah, even there, Salvatore, our salter, plays a key role. He has a really deep knowledge of this world. He knows how to spot the best batches of fish, and he's always the one who places the orders.
But then there's this very practical step. You hit the red button.
Yes, exactly. You hit the big red button when the price feels within reach, when you think it's right.
So when we eat the fish, when we look at the price, we have to know that Anna pressed the button at the right moment.
Yes, I tend to pass the baton to others more often. But yes, it's actually really exciting also because you never know if you'll make it in time or if someone else will snatch away the lot you've picked out. So, there's also an adrenaline rush in that moment and a real focus in the room when the auction actually happens. You can really feel everyone's tension at that moment. It's not, let's say, no, it's not easy. It's very complex. Yes.
Massimo, let's go back to talking about numbers, but also about dreams, right? You've talked about the love you put into this company, the love you transmit to it. The company probably receives from you this, let's say, paternal love, but what are the future projects? Projects should never stand still, as you were saying. Dreams have to keep moving forward. What are, let's say, the next targets for the next 10 years?
Well, for the next 10 years, I am a person with two characteristics. I am an optimist, so I always tend to look for the positive side of things. And this has always helped me to never give up, to always keep fighting. My dream, of course, is to see the company grow Not so much out of mere entrepreneurial ambition, but because I really enjoy seeing my people, seeing the young guys who work in the company become men and grow in their roles. It's a characteristic of our company. We tend not to hire managers from outside, but rather promote people from within as part of our company's growth. So I love taking on bright young people, maybe recent graduates with no experience, and training them, guiding them, helping them grow professionally, training them so they can eventually grow into leaders, even reach the top of the company. One of our core values is exactly this, taking on young people and helping them become strong professionals within the company. And the other thing is, we're a meritocracy. And on that, I'm absolutely relentless.
So there are no family favors here?
Not at all. There are absolutely no favors, neither family related nor of any kind.
Anna, are you aware?
I confirm, yes. In fact, I was just about to say I can confirm that we haven't, that he has never given anyone special treatment. He has always been very supportive, but you have to prove yourself.
Yes, for example, one characteristic that I am very proud of is that in our company, in all the executive offices, we have round tables. I wanted this because whoever sits at the table has, let's say, exactly the same and absolutely full right to freely express their own opinion, even when compared to people with more important roles or, in any case, more prominent and influential figures. And this has genuinely and truly allowed the company to grow because sometimes...
And you'll see this even in the company you mentioned, the one aiming for 100 million in the future. You'll always want to keep the round table.
Yes, absolutely, yes. Certainly, truly, yes. I mean, I really want the company to grow and develop based on the strong foundations and core principles that I have always believed in. So my goal for the next 10 years is to bring the company to 100 million in revenue. We are entering some exciting new markets that have high potential, and we are actively working towards achieving this goal.
Anna, back to you. You are someone who has studied a lot. Your father wanted you to attend the best schools. What would you like to change about this company? Even if it means maybe going a bit against your father if you want to.
No, well, it's hard to really clash with him. We do have disagreements, it's true, but then we know how to compromise. With our personalities, we're able to find a middle ground. Of course, coming from a mostly academic background, sometimes I feel the urge to bring in a few changes, maybe a bit more structure, clearer timelines, more defined deadlines, and a stronger focus on goal-oriented work. These are all areas where I believe there's always room for improvement. You can always do a little more, always push to do better.
Do you agree, Massimo? Can we move in this direction?
Yes, absolutely. Also because I'm more of a creative type, so I'm definitely very lucky indeed to have people around me who are really good at planning. So
perfect.
It's fine like this.
Yes, he's incredible.
Creativity and planning.
He wakes you up at 8 in the morning with a phone call. Last night I thought of this product, so it's fantastic. I mean, from this point of view, he's a dreamer, and I don't think he'll ever stop. But then someone has to make those dreams come true, and I'd love to be the one to do it, right by his side.
One thing I've noticed talking to you is that in your company you have so many roles. I imagine you also have very little time. Very little free time, but you share an incredible number of common passions. One of the most important, is that of the camper. Can you tell us about it?
Well, let's say that out of necessity, when I was a young man with a mortgage, a family, and a company that sure was a great opportunity, but also came with its fair share of struggles, we went through some pretty tough times financially. And in the end, the camper became the way I could take my family on vacation, travel the world, and still keep things manageable. I definitely have an adventurous spirit, and so I passed a bit of this passion on to my children. And today, proudly, we can say that we're all camper enthusiasts. Anna?
You're not just about campers though, right?
No, but the camper definitely connects the three of us, me, him, and my brother. So the first chance I got, I took out a loan and got myself a little camper. I was so proud to bring it home. And more than anything, it taught us to live simply. And in my opinion...
I was really moved because you also do things like skydiving and when you ride motorcycles.
Yes, I took a skydiving course, which ended up being a short but intense experience. Let's just say we wrapped it up because it wasn't really my path, but the motorcycle, that was a passion passed down from my dad, and it's something we still carry with us.
What does it mean, Massimo? Going back to talking about this important name that you see on all the shelves in Italy and abroad, what does it mean for you to carry on this name? A burden? A passion?
It's absolutely not a burden for me at all. On the contrary, I'm actually very proud of it. Also, I tend not to give too much weight or importance to things. So when I talk, especially with Federica, who is my right hand in all business decisions, I always tend to downplay things a bit, just a little, you know. In reality, being proud, I think that's actually part of being an entrepreneur. For example, back in 2021, I set my mind on creating Rizzoli Corporation in America. We arrived in the US as, let's say, total nobodies, but we laid the groundwork. We started building in the market. I even went out selling with the team myself because I wanted to really understand the challenges of the American market. And now, after 4 years, the corporation is finally taking shape. I have to say, when I see the photos they send me, our products on the shelves, how American displays are laid out, our price tags showing in yen when we're talking about the Japanese market, well, that makes me proud, really proud.
And Anna, your father really passes that on to you strongly.
Absolutely. I truly believe he has two great loves in life. One is us, his family, and the other is the company. And you have to live with those two loves, with this kind of other woman, let's say. There's always a bit of competition because for him, it's really everything. And he makes that very clear.
Anna, you're very young with an impressive resume. Have you ever thought about sending that CV outside the company to try new experiences?
It's something I've thought about, and it's also something I've discussed with my dad, who even in this case gave me complete freedom to pursue other paths. As I said before, there has never been any kind of obligation imposed. But when you know there's really a place waiting for you, a real tangible reality, you feel that urge, that rush of adrenaline that makes you say, damn, I really want to be part of this family in an even more concrete way. More and more real, yes, more grounded. So there's always something that calls you back because when you grow up in an environment like this, I think it becomes almost inevitable that a part of you deep down belongs to the company.
Because after all, it's a company that's bound to grow a lot. You'll want to ride this wave.
I'd really love that, yes.
Massimo, I'll hand it over to you to ask how you'd like to write the last line of this podcast.
For me, I'd like to write the last line of this podcast by simply saying that in life, you really have to follow your loves.
Anna.
Yes, I think that, look, I'm going to borrow his phrase a bit in the sense that when you do things with passion, and it's that passion that I see in his eyes every day, every morning, even when he comes home, maybe at 3 a.m, exhausted, when you're driven by passion, in my opinion, very few things can stop you.
Well, I really want to thank you so much for sharing with us this wonderful story of the Rizzoli Emanuelli family, a story that has the flavor of the sea. Thank you all for tuning in. See you next time. This was Stories of Italian Taste, the video podcast that tells the stories of the people, families, and businesses who have built Italy's food and wine heritage. It's hosted by Matteo Donelli and produced by Pindarica Communication. Thank you for being with us.